The Electoral Commission and its stakeholders are still cleaning up the excesses of the December 7 polls. But one of the major developments which has become very topical over the few weeks is the performance of new entrants to Parliament and the general outcome of the parliamentary elections. We have one of such persons here as our guest on today's edition of Ghana Web Election Desk. When we are back from the break, we will introduce our guest and kickstart our conversations. My name is Portia Tonamkonu. Do stay. You're welcome back. Our guest today is lawyer Francis-Xavier Sosu, a private legal practitioner who is now the MP-elect for Madina constituency. You're welcome, lawyer.
Thank you, Portia.
And thank you for having us. And this is Ghana Web Election Desk.
It's wonderful having you guys around.
How is the general feeling like, knowing that you won just with one touch? And the gap was huge.
Well, it feels very, very good and exciting to be overwhelmingly endorsed by your people. Everybody competes to win. However, winning is not automatic and it's not guaranteed for anyone. It all depends on how much work you do. And I think for me, my absolute trust in God for victory and my connection with the ground, our messaging works some trick for me. And in Madina, not only did I win overwhelmingly, but His Excellency John Dramani Mahama also won overwhelmingly. So Madina is very excited that we had those results.
Prior to the elections, lawyer, you registered concerns over some of your opponents sabotaging your efforts and all of that. That aside, you've won. How is your relations like with your predecessor?
Well, I think that the relationship is good and is cool. Unfortunately, we haven't had any conversation since then. But I mean, I have seen his demeanor. Earlier on, he objected to the results, but subsequently, I'm sure when he woke up from the shock and all that, he accepted the results and have actually said that he was not even going to contest again as an MP. But I think he's a very fine gentleman. He's paid his due. He served the nation well. He's been a member of parliament in Salaga, became a minister of state before coming to Madina and also becoming a minister of state. And so I think he's paid his due and he deserves all the accolade that we can give him. But as it has been established, the old order must give way for the new. That's how God does it. So I believe that this is a new wave. It's a new direction. It's a new vision. It's a new passion. It's a new energy that I'm coming to inject into Madina and inject into Parliament. And so for me, that is what I'm excited about, the opportunity to serve my people with a selfless heart and selfless dedication.
Are you willing to work with him?
Absolutely. I mean, as a former member of parliament, I think that, and a former minister of state, I believe he has a lot of rich experiences that I can tap from. We may be from different side of political divide, but we are not enemies. And so I am very open and ready to learn from everyone. Indeed, going into this contest, one of the persons that mentored me from Madina was Honorable Amadou Sorogo. He had been there for 3 terms. We had our own issues ahead of the 2015 primaries, to which I lost in a gallant contest against him. However, subsequently, I mean, we were talking and he was, giving me the tips, what you should do, what works, what doesn't work, and so on and so forth. And so as a new entrant, I believe that I need a very sober mind. I need a very sober heart. I need a very teachable spirit so that I can submit myself to my forebears and learn from them, learn from their mistakes so I don't commit those same mistakes, take inspiration from their strengths so I can become a more effective, vibrant, and efficient lawmaker.
All right. You have been under his Alhaji Boniface Sadiq's, should I say, reign or governance for quite some time. What are some of the things you intend to do differently from what he's done so far?
I think what I realized that there was a little bit of misunderstanding of what holistic development is supposed to be. You know, holistic development implies both physical development and what you would call human development. You know, some may call it social development. So I realized that he concentrated even on physical development. Even then, we didn't really have those physical development. It took like 4 years. The last year before election, 3 months to election before, we saw some few asphalts here and there. And then, of course, he had worked on this AstroTurf, which was also a very, very dysfunctional project because it didn't meet the aspiration of the people. So I think what he didn't do much is connecting with the grounds to understand the needs of the grounds. You know, because you were elected by people. The people may have worries and concerns. Yours, one, is to make laws, but the second one is to find ways of meeting those concerns of the people. However, he wasn't a man of the people. So in other words, he brought projects that were completely disconnected from the people.
So you would describe it as a misfits or something?
Obviously. And so my goal is to stay with the people. Before I put political messaging together, I had to go to the people on a listening tour. That's how come I got to understand that employment was a key thing among the youth. Everybody says, I'm looking for a job. Everyone says so, that I'm looking for a job. And that even if you give me everything without job, how do I survive? And that forms part of the human development I'm talking about. So they have not focused on human development, but I want to pay attention to human development. So job creation, health, education, issues of social intervention that would affect the life of the ordinary in Medina. They are the key things I want to do. I know that as a member of parliament, my core duty is to legislate, make laws. And apart from making laws, I am supposed to be an oversight over the executive. So these two roles I'm going to play very effectively in parliament. Then beyond these two roles is going to be providing leadership for your people. You see, I've realized carefully that not all politicians are leaders and not all leaders are politicians. In our own respect, many people are leaders, but they are not politicians. But what makes them leaders is the fact that first of all, they've connected to the challenges in the areas of their leadership. And they've managed out of those challenges to provide realistic and pragmatic solutions. And they've worked to rally support and rally everybody towards that goal. You see, that makes you a leader. So many people are mere politicians and yet they are not leaders. So they just politic. So the old school politics is what they do. You get the power, go away. After 4 years, come, share something. You can go and cut sword. Everybody will believe you. Then they will vote for you. But you see, society is evolving and Ghana is changing. So as a political leader, you must provide solution to the problems of the people. How do you do that? You connect with the base. Find out what their problems are. Come up with realistic policies, policy framework that addresses those problems. And you must work to actualize those policies. Have monitoring and mechanism ways of monitoring those policies and see how they are performing. So, for example, for the past 4 years, there is no one single policy that you can identify of the outgoing member of parliament that addresses an issue of youth unemployment. You see, merely waiting for vacancy in police service and claiming that I will send 2 people to police and waiting for vacancy in fire, I will send 2 people to fire service. Merely doing those things does not amount to creation of jobs.
That's why you think the people voted for you?
I believe that the people saw the vision I had. They connected with that vision. And they believed that I would work to actualize those visions. Yeah, that's how come they voted for me.
Speaking of achieving goals and policies for your people, you seem like a very busy man.
That is true.
You combine your legal work, philanthropy, you run NGOs, and now an MP elect going into parliament. How do you intend to create balance, focus on your work in parliament? Because as absenteeism is actually one of the main issues we are dealing with at the moment, how are you going to create balance as lawyer Sosu, as philanthropist, as you know?
Well, I've always believed that forced balance is an abomination. And it's only when your life is balanced that you make impact. I have had a very interesting life experiences growing up. And those experiences positioned me to be a multitasking person. I mean, I recall that as young as 8 years old, 9 years old, 10 years old, I was on the street selling. I would sell and go to school. And I know many Ghanaians connect to that. I mean, you go to Malata and go and sell. After selling, you go to school. When you close in the evening, you are going to sell kerosene. And we're doing all kinds of menial jobs. I remember when I was in St. John's Grammar, some part of the story I never share, where you would even close in the afternoon and then you go and do by day, mortar. They bring the mortar. Or you see, so these are things that we've done over and over and over again. Look, recently on the 24th August, 2019, when I was elected as a parliamentary candidate, it was the same day I began a new program in economic policy management. So for the last 1 year, whilst we're doing this politicking, doing campaign and everything, I was combining that effectively with a full, almost like it was a weekend program, but it was a full-time, program in economics. And guess what? On the 3rd of December, before the election, I graduated.
That's interesting.
Yes, I graduated with a master's program in economics, economic policy management.
Wow.
You see, and so I'm sure many guys called me. I mean, some colleagues who have not yet graduated from the program are always like, how did you do it? You were campaigning all over the place. And, I would go to campaign before coming to lectures. And consistently, I mean, I would miss some lectures. My lecturers would scold me. But, thanks to Dr. Ebo Texin and others at the Econs department. Thank you for indulging me and believing in me and allowing me to combine, those two disciplines, and still was able to finish and complete. You see, so it tells you that I have that ability to combine things. It's about how effective you combine those things that eventually determines the success you achieve. And I can assure the people of Medina that they are going to have the full effect of my effective work as a parliamentarian and my work as a philanthropist, my work as a human rights lawyer. All of them are going to come, on board to serve them and to serve their needs.
Closely related to that, we are about to close the chapter on that. The issue or debate about new entrants in Parliament is something that the leadership of Parliament has been worrying about. The fact that they will spend a lot of money to train new entrants on even how to speak, how to attend to issues, parliamentary debates, and all of that. Where do you stand in this debate?
I think this debate is a needless one. It's a needless debate because the only way we can grow as a people is to embrace the full tenet of democracy, and democracy is expensive. I'm looking forward to a day where the entire parliament is voted out and new set is voted in there. Whatever it takes to train them, we will train them and they will work.
We almost achieved that.
Well, you see, so we train them and they do the work. That is what democracy is all about. We don't need to put a fetter on democracy just because of convenience or because we feel it will be difficult to train people, or everybody has a first time. All the old MPs now were once upon a time first timers. So the issue doesn't even arise at all. I think that it's a process that we must all embrace. That is what we came or that's what we received, and that's what we are going to live by. And the whole debate for me, it's a non-starter.
I have been speaking to lawyer Xavier Sosu, the MP-elect for Medina constituency. We'll be right back. Welcome back. This is still Ghana Web's election desk. My name is Portia Etonam Konu. If you just joined us, we are speaking to the MP-elect for Madina constituency, lawyer Xavier Sosu. Now, lawyer, before the break, we were talking about your education exploits and all those things. Now, moving on, your transition so far, how would you briefly describe it? From the streets to the classroom, now to the House of Legislature. How would you describe it?
I would describe it as I would describe it as a very remarkable transition that is achieved through faith in God. I always want to be careful to give God the praise for His mercies, and then also through hard work and dedication and focus. And I believe that everyone can transition in life, except that those transitions must be fueled by hard work and dedication to God.
Okay. The national issue right now is something that a lot of people do not approve or have any, should I say, goodwill towards or something like that. Normally, we are supposed to be preparing for the swearing in of the president-elect, but that is not happening. Or, well, even if that is happening, the opposition party, your party, isn't having it. How or why has your party taken that position, and how do you describe that position?
Everyone admits that it's not easy for power to change hands. However, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, who is the leader of the NDC, has had a very, very rich experience of service to this country, rising from assembly member to becoming a member of parliament, deputy minister of state, minister of state, vice president, then president, and having to give up power and peacefully hand over power to another government and become an opposition leader. So clearly this is someone who has had all these experiences. And every Ghanaian can testify to the fact that his persona and ideals have always been peace, peace, peace. And he's known to be a man of peace at all times. Even in times when he was president and there were all kinds of threats to our peace, he's always handled those things with tact in such a way that things did not degenerate into unacceptable levels. So for him to take a stand on this election that he is rejecting the presidential results should send a very strong signal to everyone, not only the Electoral Commission, by the Peace Council, Muslim Council, Ghana Bar Association. Everybody should be interested in knowing the basis for that rejection. Everybody should be interested in interrogating the basis of that rejection. Everybody should be interested in a possible inter-party arrangement, either via the IPAC or through interreligious mediated discussion around unraveling why the major opposition leader in our country says that I reject the results. Unfortunately, what do we see? We see people treat those rejection with contempt. And for me, that is very dangerous to our democracy. Because we're talking about a leader, even per the EC's declaration, who had in excess of 6 million Ghanaians voting for him. The NDC also uncovered a number of polling stations where results were padded. And even when you collate the padded results, it still did not give the ruling government a 50+1 vote to win the general elections. So that is the reason why it is not that easy to simply say that concede defeat and let it go. I can assure you that the leadership of the NDC have done whatever it takes to contain the anger in the heart of people.
But is that working? Because we've seen...
Well, it is. It is. See, when we talk about the people, we are talking about over 6 million people. So these are just isolated cases of what I would say illegality, which might be dealt with by law. But people have been contained, not only in public service or security services or education or in the marketplaces, or people have had anger in them because people generally voted for change, and they wanted to see change, and yet they've seen that the change they voted for is being subverted. Unfortunately, we have an electoral commissioner who is completely intransigent. You see, the reason why I'm saying that is that how can you make a declaration, one declaration, and publish another declaration?
Well, maybe it found some errors in the first one. It's
so
a human institution.
So if you're a human institution and you admit that you can make mistakes, why are you not willing to listen to the major opposition party that has brought...
It has given you ears.
No, it hasn't. You see, and that is where the problem is.
Right now, a number of your executives have been criticized for inciting, in quotes, violence. Do you think violence, what we are experiencing right now, is the way to go?
Well, I don't think violence is the way to go. And I haven't heard any NDC executive incite people to violence. I haven't heard. If they have, then I stand to be corrected. But I haven't. And any meeting that I've found myself in, my position has not changed. Protest is a legitimate constitutional exercise. So, in fact, all the 6 million Ghanaians who voted for NDC can come out and protest. And that is allowed under the Constitution. That is if nobody is going to listen to the NDC. That is if the EC will not listen. Nobody is willing to give a hearing to the NDC. We can actually get to the street, all the 6 million, and go protest. And that is legitimate under the Constitution. But before you do that, let's give notice to the police under the Public Order Act. That is all. We don't need their permission to protest. All we need to do is give them notice so that they could be around to control the route or however we are going to protest, so that you don't, endanger other lives or cause problem to other people. And it ends there. And the second one is also ensuring that every single protest is peaceful. You don't need to bend ties to make a case. You don't need to bend ties. You don't need to destroy properties. Don't also forget that there are many people who are also very criminal. And sometimes they only take advantage of such protests to commit those criminal activities. I would say that one of the principles of conflict resolution is separating the people from the problem. So
the isolated cases that we've seen,
if you see any isolation, any isolated case of people burning ties is unlawful and is condemnable, and people who are involved in that act must be arrested and prosecuted, and it ends there. But
they claim they are aggrieved members of your party.
No, you see, it doesn't matter whether you are an aggrieved member of the NDC or not. Point is that when you break the law, the law will take its course.
Okay.
So the position might be made very clear. NDC would forever sanction and will use protest as one of its political tools to make its case, and nobody can stop it. However, if you seek to use protest, just make sure that your protest is within the limits of the law.
There's another school of thought that says that for an opposition party seeking a second term, you've actually done very well. You've managed to secure a hung parliament. You have, as it stands, you have 137, the NPP has 137, an outstanding independent candidate who is most likely to go on the part of the NPP. But you've done quite well. Isn't that enough for you? What else do you want?
Well, doing well is not enough, particularly when there is obvious evidence of fraud perpetrated against the ultimate, which is the presidency. We believe that the voting pattern of this year is clear evidence that the people of Ghana wanted change.
But you didn't want to hang parliament. That's actually a plus for you, you know.
Well, it is a plus, but we believe that not only, you see, the hang parliament that we achieved obviously is a plus, but my point is that our goal was not just to achieve a hang parliament. Our goal, which we believe we actually achieved, is to have a controlling majority, not only in parliament, but also take control of the executive. And that's why we are saying that at this stage, let the EC do the needful. EC claims that they declared Teshima South in favor of somebody. Give us the evidence of that declaration. They don't have it. If you don't have it, the only thing we can resort to is a pink sheet. We have all pink sheets of Teshima South. And I know that the parliamentary caucus is collating, a public collation of those results. Every Ghanaian will realize that the NDC won that seat.
All right, let's come back to the constituency. The issue of vote buying is actually one of the main political issues we have in the country. How did that play out for you?
Well, I think that I only had rumors of our opponent trying to buy some votes. I recall that we were doing, was it a door-to-door at Pantan Village where we saw them with bags of rice trying to share. That's about either a day to election or something, or 2 days. I think it was a day to election.
You didn't do some?
No, I mean,
you didn't
I think
give
it was
anybody polling agents money. That's all part.
No, you know, polling agents, they are like workers for you on election day. They are not necessarily voters that you want to influence.
Okay.
And even at our level, we don't even take care of those polling agents' stipends. It's taken care of by the party, and not us. So I don't believe in vote buying. I believe in transformational leadership, not transactional leadership. For me, it's a position of service, and you don't need to pay people to serve them.
Okay, we're moving to the very last minutes of the interview. What are some of the things your people have given you a 4-year mandate?
That is true.
To impress them, so they give you another 4 years.
Hopefully so.
What are some of the things you seek to, the new ideas you seek to push in Parliament, you know, within the 4-year period?
Well, there are, I would put it this way, there are a number of things that I seek to do that form the basis of the promises I made, or if you like, the social contract I made with the people of Medina. The first one is to provide them with quality parliamentary representation. And my definition of quality parliamentary representation is providing them with effective representation in Parliament. You know, we've heard stories of people who go to Parliament and nobody hears of them, and after 4 years they come back seeking for a re-election. I don't want to be one of those parliamentarians. I want to be very effective. I want to be very efficient. I want to be able to introduce private members' bills on areas that I consider or I have strong passion for. For example, victim support laws, compensation for people who are wrongfully convicted. You know, how to deal with those wrongful convictions. When people are finally released from remand, how we treat them. What kind of compensation regime do we have for them? What form of rehabilitation regime do we have for them? We talk about prison rehabilitation. I mean, these are things that are passions for me, that I'm looking forward to introducing some form of private members bill to reform those aspects of our justice system. Then also, that is for the work of Parliament. Now, work of Medina. As a member of the Assembly, I intend lobbying the Assembly members together with the Municipal Chief Executive to be able to embark on aggressive infrastructure development within the Medina and its environs. I'm hoping to stand with the people And I am willing to, be with the people to demonstrate against any government, whether my government or the NPP government, for lack of development. Because the reason why we pay tax property rates is because we want development within the community, within the municipal assembly. And if they fail to deliver on that, I would stand with the people to demand for those developments.
4 years of Akufo-Addo-led administration, what is one good thing you can say about them?
I think the implementation of FreeSHS is something I think that, the widespread, or the, how will I say, the full-scale implementation of the FreeSHS was something I applauded, because I know that growing up from the street, if I didn't have people support me through education, there is no way I'll get to where I am today. So the FreeSHS was something, a policy that I subscribe to fully, except that I believe that they needed to be more sincere about it, because we know that that was a policy that began under the NDC administration, except that it wasn't implemented in the scale.
But now you believe in the full-scale implementation?
Yes, the full-scale implementation is what I applaud, except that the full-scale implementation had its own challenges, which they were also failing to admit. You see, they were not being sincere about that. They failed to admit that full scale, the challenges of the full scale. For example, the double track was a major problem.
Okay, and I'm going to pause you there before we start another conversation about
altogether. And so, yes, these are ideals that I applaud, but I believe that it could be done better under the NDC administration, which is now having all the challenges with the Electoral Commissioner.
Thank you for having us, Lawyer Sosu. I'm really grateful for this opportunity.
It's wonderful having you guys around.
My name is Portia Etonam Konu. We've been speaking to Lawyer Sosu, the MP-elect for Madina constituency. Join us next time. This has been Ghana Web Election Desk. Stay safe.